Hey everyone, and welcome to another developer live stream. Hope you are all good in their chat. Hi everyone.
Hello.
I'm here with Dennis.
Woohoo.
How are
Hey.
you, Dennis?
Thank you. I'm very well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we are so excited to talk about this today. We have so many cool stuff to show you. But before that, we would like to thank Elgato for helping this stream out with really cool teleprompters and some cool stuff in the office to make it happen. And of course, our team for making this amazing set. Like, we are basically in the bayou right now. So
It's awesome. It's really, really cool.
it's really awesome. But let's start talking about Devil's Trail. But before that, we have some housekeeping to do because Hunt is celebrating its 8th anniversary this year. This happened in February. What an awesome number.
Absolutely.
With that, we want to thank all of you for playing the game, participating in it, for all the content creators, for streaming it, all our partners for being always there for us. It's just what an amazing journey. Dennis, do you have like
Yeah, I mean, it's
any
an
highlights?
amazing journey, as you said, like from early access to Showdown 896, 8 years. Quite amazing. Like if I look back, like one of the biggest things for me was like when we had the 1.0 release and then finally had the chance to add trios to the game. Like that was such a
Yes.
big changer for me. So along the way, so many great milestones. So yeah, looking back with pride and happiness.
Fun fact, my first day was on the early access release, so I know by fact that it was February 22nd, 2018,
Yeah.
and everyone gathered in the office and we pressed that button and went live with it. So
That's so cool. There's actually like we do have a documentary about like 25 years of Crytek, and that exact moment you'll find in there as well. I think in episode 4, if I'm not mistaken. So there's some really, really good stuff to see in there.
exactly. And with the anniversary, we released an anniversary skin contest. The entries closed this week. So thank you everyone for submitting the really, really amazing artwork. Our team will be judging it and thinking about it, and you will be able to vote for the best 6 soon on our website. You can find all the details already in a blog on the website, so check that out if you're curious. But again, thank you for submitting all the amazing entries. I had a chance to look at all of them today, and well, it actually blows my mind.
Yeah, I'm really happy we are able to do one of those contests again. We've been doing a few of those in the past, but it was time again.
And also just in general, the community, like the cosplayers, all the cool fan art that you post on our socials over the years, it's like really crazy
Yeah,
and very,
amazing.
very like, it makes us working on this game and here because it gives us life. So thank
It's
you
rewarding.
very much so. And as Dennis mentioned, we do have a Crytek docu-series on the Crytek YouTube channel. Check out the link in the chat for that. And we are going through many of our games, including Showdown as
Yeah,
well.
we just recently released the 5th episode of that one. So we're now basically in the present with a documentary. So yeah, if you want to catch back on like the early years of Crytek, also like the different games we've done over the years, as well as Showdown, definitely go check it out.
And if you want to see more of Dennis, make sure to check it out because he's in a lot of those. But let's talk about some of our community highlights this time around. First of all, we had a Lunar New Year.
Yeah, that was amazing. So like a new game of skill story challenge we were able to release with this one. So super excited. Like people were super happy about this one. And I think it's still going until, was it the 7th of April,
The
right?
7th of April, you can still get it on play.
Yeah, and it will return in the future.
Yeah, so again, like really cool one. And we have to highlight some of the cool merch that is dropping with event, like
Oh, you're wearing a shirt there, Vince.
yeah, it's an unusual shirt, but really cool. And don't check it out yet because there's some spoilers on it for the stream. And also we will have some displays coming into the store, so make sure to check those out as well. And maybe Dennis, if you want to say anything about Murder Circus event and recap what really happened there.
So it's really, really great to just do another run of the Murder Circus with the Murder Circus and core. Like engagement was amazing. Also like having like these new like in between beats as we had with the Balweaver compounds and the Flame Rifle coming in, etc. Just getting these exciting pieces out, I think was really, really fun for everybody.
Yeah, it was really fun. And there's another thing we gather your feedback about as well, which is the 15 players missions that we recently ran some tests on. You may have participated in it. So Dennis, what was the feedback on that?
Yeah, first off, I mean, thanks for everybody for participating in this one. We've compiled all of our findings into a little blog post already. So if you want to go into the details of this one, you can check that one out. In general, feedback was great on the trio side of things, not so great on the duo side of things. There were a couple of pain points we understood, like things that you didn't like. And what's really interesting from our side was just going through the data, seeing the feedback and seeing like how how certain aspects resonated stronger or not so strong in certain like demographics, like MMR brackets as well as regions. So super fascinating to kind of see like how everybody is kind of responding to this and maybe in different ways even. So what we've learned from this one is that mostly it's about the spawn fights, which were a bit like too much, like the third partying wasn't so nice, and there's obviously the economy piece as well, where maybe you just lose a little bit more and therefore maybe, well, you don't get this much out. Like, so what's about the bounty value, for example? So a couple of these points that we want to go back to on the drawing board a little bit, continue iterate on those, and then we aim on doing like another playtest in the future. But first we want to make sure that we actually have some answers on those.
Again, if you want more detail on it, as Dennis mentioned, you can check out our blog post already live at showdown.com in the news segment, so make sure to read it. But let's talk about Poor Surfer Band. That is our in-house band, if you didn't know. So it's made of our developers, and it's responsible for all the awesome music around Hunt. And we reached a huge milestone with the band, over 100 million streams worldwide.
That's amazing.
It's
well deserved. It's a good listen.
And again, thank you for your support across all the platforms. You can find the Port Surfer Band on Apple Music, Spotify, or YouTube Music, or any of the other major platforms you may listen to music to. And additionally, we have a new release on Steam for the Shadow Wakes Deluxe Edition, which has over 45 tracks.
Yeah, including The Rain and the Zal, which is a really cool ambient track. I really like this one a lot.
Yeah, and as always with Port Surfer Band, a lot of more surprises coming very, very soon.
They don't cease to amaze, so there we go.
Amazing. So now we took these housekeeping things and exciting community things out of the way. Let's get back to the update and 2.7. So what is coming in the stream and for the update?
So in general, we have Devil's Trail as a new event running from March 18th to June 10th. And in this event, we're going to focus a lot on tracking and scouting. So we're going to go back like to the core, back to the roots with this one. So we'll talk about all the details now in the stream, of course. But in general, what we'll be talking about is new scouting mechanics, scout towers as new locations, a new monster, new traits, new tarot cards, points of interest, and more. So we dive into details of all of those throughout the stream.
And even more activities will come during the event. But let's talk about those in a bit more detail now.
Yeah, so like in general, like this is an important piece that we want to evolve our events again and over again. It's like a never-ending process. And one of the things that we've been experimenting with over the last 2 big updates has been like these sub-beats, like something happening in between, multiple beats during the event. The latest of those was the Ballweaver compounds and the Flame Rifle in January, like as a mid-event beat. And then at the end of the Murder Circus on Core, we also had like the new mail supply point. So there's always something new, some cool new pieces in there. I mean, just like do more of that one, give you guys a bit more new contents, gameplay shifts throughout the event period in general. So exciting new pieces. Not everything is just always there to get-go, but things evolve and change. And we will reveal a lot more, obviously, in the future streams about those.
But we can already talk a bit about the next beat that is coming on April 15th.
Yeah, so this is like our first beat after the initial release, and that will be focusing on the Inferno time of day. So of those of you who don't know what Inferno is, it's basically large parts of the map are on fire. You have different paths now, areas are blocked. You have obviously then the sound from the fire impacting you, the visibility is impacted. It's a very, very awesome atmosphere to just walk around in, but it changes things up a little bit. So Inferno is coming back, and of course for the first time also will be on Mammon's Gulch. We also have some new Hellborn activities, and we're going to keep that as vague as possible for the moment, because obviously we're going to talk about this more as we get closer to this first beat. And then joining like the entire Inferno theme, we also have a appropriate firefighter supply point with some cool new goodies there. And
we will also have a new DLC release around this time around too. But let's talk about even more into the future about May, just very brief.
So sticking with this monthly-ish beat structure we have there, like every month or so we have something new. In May, we want to return some of the fan favorite contents. So there will be things that you guys really, really liked before, and we're going to bring them back. So rotate like event elements a little bit. So we can keep that again even more vague, because we're going to talk about it as well as we get closer.
Exactly, it's quite far away still, so more surprises are to come.
Stay tuned, there's more stuff coming throughout the entire event.
But now that we talked about what is coming later in the event, let's get back to the top of it and let's talk about Devil's Trail. Now, make sure to stick around the whole stream because there's a lot of things towards the end too that you really don't want to miss. So let's dive into the lore, and before that, why don't we roll the amazing cinematic trailer that we have, which really recaps the lore.
It's amazing, love it.
Initiation, don't you? Now, there's always been some blood involved. I just want to add a little more flavor.
Initial reconnaissance report to Lieutenant Colonel Whitlaw. We reached the target site on June 1st, 1896.
Found signs of fighting. Casualties. Spilled bandages. Rumors confirmed.
The dead are walking, skin peeling like birch bark. We observed multiple armed and skilled combatants engage.
3 survived and ran. We followed her trail and established base camp in an abandoned hunting tower to map the area. But we were attacked.
Now, what brings you two down here?
Levinson?
We encountered former Private Grizz Levinson.
He told us about hunters and the inoculations that keep them from becoming fiends.
We've decided that the injections will increase our chances of fulfilling the mission.
It is the only way to see what's really out there.
Disregard previous reports. Mission is stable. No infected in sight. All progressing smoothly. We see, at all hours we see the bright dawn. It lights the trail ahead.
What an amazing trailer. So Dennis, for those that maybe didn't catch everything in it, could you just recap what really happens here?
Yeah, so basically in this story we're following 2 indigenous scouts. They're sent over to investigate what's going on in the incursion zones for one of those military groups. And while they're determined to stop the growing nightmare, but they kind of choose to fight the monsters themselves, like, so no more scouting. So as they go in, as you would expect with any hunter, at one point their personal gains kind of become more important and they start going for their own benefits. This is primarily after they meet the cook, and the cook gives them some stuff to mess around with, and it's really a twist. Like, but basically they kind of lose track of the original mission and become proper hunters.
Yeah, so you already mentioned some of the key figures, but let's just take a close look at them. So first we have the one who flies.
One of Flies is like one of those 2 indigenous army scouts, and then the second one is Red Raven, the cousin of One Who Flies, and then the third one is the cook, which used to be a former private in the army, so they know him by name. But I think he got fired from his last job because he was like cooking human flesh or something. So not the person you want to trust with. But then again, they do, and that spells doom for all of them.
And all these 3 hunters will be part of the battle pass this time around too. Right?
Yeah.
And
really, really cool shots there, like one who flies. And yeah, he's not just flying over the table like in the trailer.
then, of course, the Red Raven.
Red Raven, the cousin, really cool as well. And the cook, which is Chris Levinson,
Really cool one.
former private.
And we have some other key figures in the Turncoat gang.
Yeah, so also, you remember the Turncoat, was one of our DLC hunters, been out for some time, but like, he now has a gang and maybe had them for some time, but there are some reinforcements in the gang. On one hand, we have now the Bandit, and then we also have the Highwayman. So both of those are like members of the gang. They're kind of drawn into this, being more on the wrong side of the law. And if you notice, actually, like the Stormseer and the Headtaker, like they're both also like part of the same gang. But obviously, we're going to focus on the Bandit and Highwayman, and those two are basically our like BP hunters for this event.
Yeah, you will be able to get them in the store during the event. And we also have a new DLC releasing with the Madness of Montresor.
The Madness of Montresor, yeah, really cool as well. That goes very nicely along with the Phantom, I suppose. Very cool character and also pretty awesome backstory.
Yeah, so why don't we just look at the trailer for this
let's do it.
DLC?
Yeah, really cool content pieces in there. I really like that we got like a new Crack Silencer skin, and also you can't have enough normal Nagans as well as the Derringer Penny Shot to round it up. So I think it's a really cool set.
And of course, the Hunter itself. But we still have a new story challenge coming in this update for free, the Vigilant Justice. And just to remind everyone, the event will be running from next Wednesday until the 10th of June. So note that down right now in the notepad.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the story challenge.
All right, so we also have like a new free story challenge. As you know, like we use those story challenges to kind of bring back some of those older skins as well, like some of those skins you've had from before 1896 relaunch. And this time around, we're going to focus on Joan Damon and on Leon Olitsky. Both of those names should be familiar because both of them already have both the rookie, veteran, and also the survivor versions. And we're going to release 2 new versions of them, which is like Joan Damon, the tracker, and Leon Olitsky, the looter. And the whole thing is about a story where Joan basically tries to hunt down Leon after a deadly robbery. But like the motives, as always in the Bayou, may blur the line between villain and victim.
Yeah, so there's a lot of cool stuff to earn already during the event, but let's actually dive into the progression of the event and all the other rewards that players may be able to get.
Yeah, let's talk a bit about the structure of the event. There's basically like the same formula as we've been running for some time. So we continue with the pledge mark system. That means you will earn event points. If you have 25 event points earned during a match, you also get a pledge mark from that one, and you can use those pledge marks obviously to unlock like sealed rewards and do cool things, gameplay relevant things inside the mission. But also you earn event points now by revealing hidden information, because it's all about scouting and tracking. So we're going to talk about that in a second.
And of course, we have a brand new battle pass with 50 rewards to earn. It will include a lot of weapons, the hunters we mentioned earlier, so the 3 hunters, some cool weapon animation and just animations that you can equip for a lot of cool stuff, and some player profile customization too. So why don't we take a look at some
Let's have a look at them, yeah.
Rewards. Yeah, so let's start with Chef's Kiss, which will be a skin for the Vandal 73C family, for the Striker, Bullseye, and normal variant.
Yeah, so exactly as you mentioned, like there's 3 versions of this one. You see the Striker version here, but we also have the Bullseye and the regular one. So Bit of vandal love, which is really cool.
Really cool one. We will also have the Trail Beater set for the Centennial.
Yeah, an absolute favorite of mine. Like, so I like when they're like having this new frontier kind of like trapper type of look. So I'm really happy the Centennial gets a bit of a treatment there. Again, also you get versions for the sniper and the trauma version as well as the base version. And this one I think is going to be one of my go-to picks for sure.
And I know that you also really like traps, and we have 3 new.
Who told you that?
So first, we have like an alert trip mine, one of the 3 in the family, which is called Loud Footfall.
Yeah, that's really, really cool as well. So like alert 1 is the first one, and you're going to see the other ones in a moment.
Then we have the Graham Comapans for the Romero 77 family. It will include the Talon and the Alamo variant as well.
You can see the Alamo here. I really like that one. Like this one, obviously in the hands of some of our like skull mask wearing hunters is going to be like super awesome.
Yeah, this one is really badass, not gonna lie. And let's look at a cute charm, Survivor's Power. Really nice to have.
Nice weapon charm. Yeah, Year of the Horse.
Then we have Skull's Eye, which is for the Nagant Precision.
Yeah, again, like the Nagant Precision is one of those weapons. I think, personally, I feel like it's underused. Like, I love using that gun because no one expects it. So, for example, if you go with 2 medium loadouts and you'd have the bow in one, and then this one is your ranged option with some high velocity, you can do some nasty headshots with this one. I really like this one. It's not necessarily meta, but it's really fun to use.
Definitely, and the second trap in the family is the Damned Footfall, which is obviously for the Concertina.
Yeah, I really like it. You can see like the pattern there, similar to patterns we saw on the Centennial family. So it feels very like frontier new look. I really like this one.
We also have a skin coming for the FUCs, which is the Radiant Afterlife.
Yeah, kind of fitting that skull theme.
Cool. And a Lamont skin for Relevation's Path.
Yeah, this one is really
cool
amazing as well. Like, again, good backup for the Centennial, I suppose.
Yeah. And a really, really badass throwing axe, I must say, called Fork in the Road.
Yeah, like, imagine, like, this might belong to the cook, I suppose, but, like, really, really cool. Like, I like how all of, like, the cutlery is kind of, like merged, molten into this, and then shaped from there. It's really, really cool.
He's definitely a twisted cook, and that's why we also have this hive bomb, which is called Bone Broth.
Yeah, also really cool thing. Like the fork in front there.
Yeah, pretty creepy stuff. And my favorite new weapon charm, I must say, is called Noctilica. And we also have a small video to showcase this one because
it's actually animated.
So
I have a little glowing element in there. I think it's really cool. It's like a nice touch.
I really love that. I really do. And the last of the 3 taps called Toxic Footfall. And of course, because of that, it's a poison trip mine.
Yeah, really cool.
And let's go back to that cook with a pastemaker.
Also, it has a heavy knife. Someone needs to do a chopping of that human flesh, I suppose.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
Really cool, this one as well. I really like this.
And we do have a new ammo box too, called The End of the World.
Again, like, kind of a bit more fitting with the skull theme, etc. I like this one because it has like ornamentation on it. It looks more like high quality, etc. I really like this.
And the last in the battle pass that you unlock as the bonus level after you finish the pass is Knight's Gift, a cool weapon charm.
That is so cute.
And again, it is just not all the rewards that you can get a battle pass. We have animations, a few more charms as well, and the player profile customization.
Yeah, there's even like an animation in there now for the traps. So curious for you guys see that for the first time then.
But now we went through the rewarding side of things. Let's talk about the meaty, gritty part of the event, which is very important, and we build this whole thing around it. The tracking and scouting part. Let's start with the scouting.
Yeah, so let's dive a little bit into the actual mechanics, also what's changing for the event. And the first point here is the scouting element. And scouting is all about like revealing hidden information. It's about locations and finding stuff. So let's focus on this section first. So what's different? By default, we have the supply points and the extraction points hidden on the map. So as you go into the match and you open up the map on your start point, you will not see any of those in there. However, you have the chance to kind of uncover those again. So you reveal these locations, and you can use that either by using the new scouting maps, or you can also reveal that information by going directly to these locations as you find them. But that's not all, because you can also just ping them from a distance. You don't even have to go there. So if you're, for example, at Preston Oil and you see the boat in the far distance, you don't have to detour just to understand where this is and unlock it and make sure it's marked on the map. Just ping it, it's fine. And in addition to that, even if you have the spyglass, it even shows you like nearby locations above the compass on top, it's little icons. So you can understand that maybe something is nearby. You want to like rotate there and look and see if you can find it. So very easy to kind of get that information, and revealing it also obviously gives you event points. So there's a kind of nice reward for this.
Yeah, so you mentioned interacting with the scout map and the scout towers. So what are the scout towers?
If you can go back one more, I want to say one more thing there on the last point there, because it's important just to give you guys a wrapper. So when we talk about discovering these locations, the important piece is that if you follow the objective, so you go for the clues, you find the boss, you kill and banish them, you will still understand where the exits are, because we also give you information about where you can leave the map with your reward, with your prize, if you do a banish or if you pick up a bounty token either directly from the boss or because you take it from some other hunter. So there's always a chance to still understand where you're going. It's just that by not going to, for example, the map and reveal everything, you might be a bit at a disadvantage. You might not know where the supplies are. Or if you are attacking, let's say, another banish, at that point, maybe the guys inside, they will know now because they've done the banish where the exits are. But you attacking, you might not have that information if you didn't go to the tower first. So maybe now they have a chance to slip away from you besieging them. So it just adds a different dynamic, and it kind of makes it important to use information now more as a weapon by just like figuring out what do I need to know when I can make the best decisions. Should I go through the towers? Should I skip them? So it's very interesting. And then also the chariot card also reveals the current exits on top of that.
Yeah, but let's go to the towers.
Yes.
So let's talk about the brand new tower archetype, the scout towers.
So in general, we have a new location called the scout towers. There's always 2 scout towers on the map. I think there's a possibility of like up to 3 positions where they could be. So it kind of always is a bit random which ones are active. And they're the only things marked on the map initially. So you basically have a go-to beacon, like go to the map, and you know all the information, the rest fills in. But you can also obviously choose to ignore them and then reveal everything manually if you prefer and choose to do so. If you want to just go hunt the boss instead, that's perfectly fine. But what you get at a scout tower, so first off, you have the scouting map. So this is where if you interact with it, it reveals all the locations, you know, where the supply points are or any other like custom locations that we have this time around. You also get access to the new tarot cards, which we're going to talk about down the line, as well as random rewards like custom ammo, maybe sometimes trades, weapons, etc. So maybe let's just have a look at that stuff.
Yeah, let's take a look at the new scout towers.
As you can see here, as you start the round, like you get a little pop-up that kind of tells you like what's different this time around. So it's only that you see those scout towers. There's nothing else on the map. Now, if you go to one of those towers, you're gonna see them like traditional towers, but they're a bit different. There's different ways up now. They're also a bit more camouflaged, so someone has been using them for reconnaissance. If you go all the way up, for example, like you can actually do this now. There's usually like a sniper rifle you can find up there. Maybe it's a Springfield, maybe it's something else. It's kind of randomly placed, so you can always get like something with a scope in there, and then you obviously do those headshots, which was not staged at all. And you also have a chance, for example, to climb up with a ladder, kind of like directly coming up from the underside. There's different ways up, so it's not as easy as some of the other towers to lock them down. In the center, you have the table with a map, and the moment you interact with it, it just burst reveals and gives you those event point rewards for each of the locations that you have now revealed, and you now have the full map visible. And in there, you see the supply points, you see the exits, and you see some of the special locations we have. You also find the tarot cards there. So we have the High Priestess, which we're going to talk about more. You have the All Ears trade, and then you have the Pathfinder tarot card as well. So quite a good location to go to. Quite meaningful. You get a lot of cool stuff there. So you don't necessarily want to miss out on that one. But understandably, if you, for example, find the boss right at the first compound, maybe you don't want to. But still, again, repeating that, you still get the extract information if you engage with the boss.
Yeah, and at the end we saw the hint of the new one of the new locations. So why don't we talk about the burnt convoys as well?
Yeah, so the burnt convoy is what everybody is looking for. So that's what they are scouting. It's basically our new point of interest for this event. And Again, it's also hidden from the map by default. However, it does emit like a large smoke pillar. There's like smoke plumes everywhere. So you can actually find it if you just like scan the horizon and if depending on where you are, maybe not everyone Mammoth Gulch because of the big mountain in the center, but in general, you should have a good way of kind of figuring out where this thing is. And you can just choose to go there directly if you find it. And this one obviously contains a lot of unique loot. And I think we're going to look at that and talk about what loot that is as we watch the trailer.
Yeah, so let's look at it in action.
Video. So generally, like the Burn Convoy is one of those special locations we have. You can see like the big smoke pillar here, kind of revealing a lot of distance. And at that location, you do find a lot of like trades and tarot cards, envelopes. So it is a very great place to go to. You also have guaranteed access to Catalyst here, as a trade that always spawns. You also get the All Ears trade for 2 pledge marks. And then obviously you have some other random stuff that you can find here as well. There's also tarot cards here, and you have a guaranteed spawn of the Empress and the Chariot here. So this is quite a valuable place, and you want to be the first one there because you can pick a claim then. This is also, and I think that's an important piece as well, this is where you go to if you are missing health, because this is where you find a like health restoration kit.
And with that, we solved first half of the equation, the scouting part, but let's talk about the active and passive tracking of your enemies, talking about the active part first.
Yeah,
so
let's start with the active tracking, and that's like the two tarot cards and the trait. So let's start with the High Priestess. So the High Priestess is a new card that reveals the direction of the closest enemy hunter. You might think, like, don't we have something like that already with the Hanged Man? Yes, but in a different way. So what this does is basically creates a temporary world effect and a compass marker pointing in the direction. So this is something you can use much more in combat or when you're close by, because you're not being pulled out into a spectator camera view and then have to figure out where they are exactly. There's some drawbacks to this, of course, because you don't know how far away they are. You just get the direction. You also don't know what if they're alone, if there's a team, etc. That's where the Hangman still has like an advantage over this. But it's much more reactive, so you can use it at any point during a mission, and it also updates then for the 30 seconds it remains active in which direction the closest hunters are. So you can also just drop this in the middle of combat and then at least get some more precise information, like, okay, it has to be in this building, not the other building.
Yeah, so why don't we also look at this, how it actually looks in game?
So you can see here we're using the example of finding one of those in the scout towers. Of course, you still get your little like information about what the card does as if you look at it. Inspect it for a moment. Of course, it's a nice card. Really awesome, cool art, really awesome artwork as well. Now, if you use it, now you see like there's like a particle effect that kind of points towards the nearest location of a hunter. This is very similar to, for example, what you remember for like Rockjaw traces, for example. And then that direction gives you that indication where you should look. And you also see on top of the compass, when it's active, you see like the actual marker direction there as well for the nearest enemy. So you can use it both from the compass side, but also as it remains at that position when you cast it, like everybody in the team can also just get it at a quick glance. So in this case, we know, okay, there's someone in here, so I'll just move around. Do you see this move very fast on the compass? That usually is an indication that they're very close by. And there they are, and now they're dead.
But we do have another tarot card coming, which you may have seen on my shirt. The Pathfinder.
Yeah, let's talk about the Pathfinder. So this is a second also PvP-focused tarot card, because tracking is all about finding other players. So this one reveals all clues discovered by any hunter on the map. So whenever you decide to play this card, we're gonna highlight on the map all of the clue positions in red that someone has interacted with, be that yourself or someone else. That effect kind of lasts for like 30-ish or so seconds, and then it kind of fades out on the map as well, so it's temporary, and you can always like repeat that just to get an update. But whenever you cast it, then you get a snapshot of like what are the clues that have been interacted with by anyone so far, and that helps you to kind of paint a picture on the map, like, okay, maybe there's no one in the northwest corner, but you know what, we have some neighbors here directly on the right hand side. So it just gives you the chance to see where enemies could be. But of course you can also game this, right? You can also just choose not to use the first clue, like just moving ahead, and then you have your neighbors maybe thinking that they're alone, but actually you are still there. So there's a bit of mind games, as is usual for mechanics in our game, like attached to this one, where you can play with this and see what is the right approach for you.
Yeah, and let's take a look at it as well, how it looks in game when you activate it.
And picking this up from the tower. Again, awesome artwork. Definitely gonna get your shirt there, Ben. So
yeah,
not exactly that shirt, but like That shirt.
Very nice. No, exactly this shirt.
So here, like I've now used the clue, using the card. If I now open up the map, I will understand, okay, well, I see where there's something in red. Someone else has already also been interacting with a clue. So now if I do this a little bit later in the mission, like maybe after the second clue or so, just to double check again, see like a lot more of those show up. And obviously like the longer you wait, the more clues in general probably will have been interacted with. So it's important for you to find like the right windows, like what is the right moment to use this? Should I wait maybe shortly after the first clue? Should I wait a little bit longer? Should I just do it right in the beginning? It's up to you, figure out the right strategy for it, but it really depends on when you use it and to see what effect you get out of it.
Yeah, and for those chatters that were all ears during the Scout Tower section, they may have heard that there's also a trait coming up, which is conveniently called All Ears.
Yeah, so the All Ears trait is really, really powerful one, really amazing. Basically, what the trait does, it changes what you hear while you're using Darkside. In general, it reduces the Darkside ambient noise. So, like, you know, like if you just go into Darkside normally, there's always a bit of ambient, and sometimes like it's just a drawback of using that power that you sometimes don't hear what's going on around. Now, what it does, however, is it amplifies enemy hunter audio in the direction of you. So think of it as a directional microphone where you can, for example, more easily identify footstep sounds and them reloading, or like any pieces that are kind of like relevant for the hunter action. So enemy hunter audio in general in direction of view gets boosted. And you can also find this at the Scout Towers and the Burn Convoy for 2 pledge marks. So a very powerful trait. Still has some drawbacks because obviously you will be in Darkside when you use it, so you might miss other pieces. It's hyper-focused to the front. But if you use it wisely, it might actually reveal some enemies you might not even know that they're actually coming around the corner.
And we also have a little showcase for this, so let's just listen and watch it at the same time.
I'll be quiet now. As you could see here is like a bit of a sense of the distances behind it as well, but like you might at least understand like if they have moved off the road there into like the bushes and stuff, you might understand like are they still moving, are they coming closer, is it one set of footsteps, is it multiple? So like it keeps you a bit guessing, so you still need to interpret what you hear, but it allows you to kind of like track things a little bit easier. In general, the rule of thumb is like around like a tripling of the existing audio, so you can hear stuff roughly 3 times further out compared to what you normally can when it comes to hunter sounds.
And now that we covered our new trait in this update, we also introduced some systematic changes to the trait. So let's talk about the trait system change.
So in general, like we want to make traits and trait drops and finding traits a little bit more predictable, but also to kind of change some of the focus around them. So the first point here, and that's super important, is like you now have guaranteed trait drops at brutes and meatheads. Before they were kind of 50-ish to 80-ish%, and you didn't always get one. Whenever you down a brute or a meathead now, you always get 1 trait dropped guaranteed. So you can now go hunt them a bit more with focus. However, we now have a change that the trait spurs, they start to disappear. They fade out after the first use. So over the course of like 90 seconds, after the first time someone has interacted with them, they're gone. So now you need to coordinate a lot better. What that means is that if you go and hunt for those, for example, go and hunt meatheads, you will benefit from that one. You're being rewarded for having done the work. But it's not about like anyone else just coming by 20 minutes later and finding them, just getting a free trade. This is going to be super important also when it comes to the wild targets, where you see a much bigger reward now for going after Rotjaw and the Hellborn. Because if you did all the work, you might benefit from maybe that death cheat drop. But the other people may be coming later, sitting in the bushes, waiting for you to move on to grab it as well. Well, they might be too late now. Again, it requires some more coordination. So if you find like a doctor in the tower, maybe you want to tell your friends a little bit before you pick it, so that they all have a chance to get it if they want to. But in general, there's a bit of a focus piece around this one now, so that we want to reward those who really go for the pieces, go for hunting those enemies, go find stuff, and not just like scavenge everything afterwards. We also have change it so that the trade spurs are now visible and audible in dark side. So if you're close by to one, you can now detect them a little easier. So just checking dark side once in a while, just like around buildings, etc. Just you might be able to kind of see that something is there. Before you were able to redo this with like the remedy, for example, it's like a general thing now. So you can always see them within, I think, 25-ish or so meters, and you can hear them around like 10 meters or so audibly. And we've also reduced some of the trade spur spawns in the world, so you don't find them as frequently anymore, because keep in mind, like, you're now gonna get them guaranteed from the bigger monsters. But if you do find them in the world, they usually offer higher value now, so you got like more of those trades that actually might be more meaningful for you, or at least if you don't want them, you can kind of get your upgrade points for those after the mission with a higher amount.
And with that, we covered the active side of tracking your enemies in the game, but there's also passive tracking now. So what is that exactly about? That
so passive tracking is basically tracking stuff in our sandbox. There are some elements we've had like forever, like for example, someone has been using an ammo box, and then the ammo box is now slightly open. You understand, okay, a player has been at the supply point. And we want to do more of that to give you just a richer experience, trying to figure out when people have been at locations or not. So in general, it's about opened items, it's broken objects that persist. We have a bit more tracking like abilities that way, because in the details, every time we, for example, interact with an envelope, they're ripped open a little bit, so they kind of change visually, similar to like the open boxes. We also had this now added to the ammo packs, the small ones, so they have like an open state as well if someone has ever used them. If you like destroyed a barrel or interacted with the cages before, like there's like broken pieces, broken debris of their barrels at this position. So, this was the explosion we heard earlier. Right? Like, so it gives you a chance to kind of piece information together by just observing the world. For example, there might be like these scorch marks left over by the trade spurs, which are disappearing now. Like, but you at least understand, there was a trade up in that tower. Someone has grabbed it. I see some of the bone dust and some of the magical pieces still around there, but I can't interact with it anymore. But at least I understand someone was there. We also changed the door so that by default, every door is like fully closed now, no longer just a bit ajar. But the moment someone interacted with it and even closed it afterwards again, it will just go back to this ajar state. So again, it allows you kind of see a little bit better what's going on in the world. There's some more changes we've been doing. One of them, for example, is that whenever you use a med kit now, or the first aid kit in the world, it actually leaves some bloody wrecks on the ground now. So I understand, okay, someone has been healing here. So the whole world should feel a lot richer through these like small little additions here and there. I think that if we had a few more, let me just have a look in the section here. Just
for example, vaulting a fence now.
Yeah, exactly. Like so we have some of those fences where you can vault over. And as you vault over on some of them, like kind of chip off a little bit of the wood now. So you can kind of like see that someone has maybe been vaulting over this. So there's a full list in the patch notes of those things, but it's really, really nice to kind of enrich the sandbox by just having more of those reactive pieces in there, which you can, if you know about them, kind of trace players down, track them, and use that for your hand.
Yeah, I mean, this is like such an amazing change. And I know the community have been requesting features like this for a while. So I'm really, really excited to have this in the game. But now that we covered the tracking and scouting part of the update, let's talk about the gameplay changes that are coming with it.
Yeah, we're going a bit more into details now. So we're going to start first with the weapon balancing pieces. So this one I'm going to already put my cheat sheet a little bit up, because I want to give you guys exact numbers on this one. So the first point is like compact ammo penetration has been buffed a little bit. So this was a point that you guys brought up a couple of times now since the 2.0 release, about like that you feel like that compact ammo got the short end of the stick. So we boosted it a little bit. It's still obviously important to note that like medium bullets and long bullets are still the ones with a better penetration, because they're the more powerful, bigger bullets. However, in general, compact should just be a little bit better now. So if you had that fight across a fence, for example, your bullets should not just get stuck in the fence as easily and actually pierce through that one layer. So in general, there should be a bit of a boost. So yeah, please, once you guys have a chance to play this yourselves, give us a feedback if it's enough, if you feel it's fine, especially comparing like FMJ ammunition and the larger calibers, if the balance feels all right for this. We also did a pass to have a smoother handling for some of the underused weapons. So we picked up a couple for those, which is the Cyclone, the Mako, the Berthier, and the Romero, and the Haymaker. All of those got updates. I'm going to go through each of these points now in detail, because I know you guys want to hear that. So what did we do on the Cyclone? We decreased the damage from 124 to 120. So there's a nerf on the Cyclone, actually, because we felt this one was was a bit too used to much, especially after 2.4 when we did changes to the body multipliers or the hunter. So overall, like it was just too easy to do tap people with it at shorter distances. So dropping the damage down, we also increased the recoil just slightly from 6 to 7. And we also reduced the reserve ammunition from 20 to 16. So this is in terms of countering some of the spam. The Cyclone will be a bit harder to use. It's still powerful, as most of the semi-automatics are if you use them. You can do that with the follow-up shots quite effectively, even like a Bornheim match, etc. As you know, like it can be a powerhouse. So this weapon will still be very good. However, it was a bit too good, so now we just nerfed it just slightly. Now moving on to the Mako. The Mako 1895, we reduced the cycle time from 1.6 to 1.35 seconds. That means overall you can get more shots in faster. And consequently, we also reduced the INI cycle time from 1.5 to 1.3 seconds. So you should just feel the weapon a bit smoother as you try to get the next shot off rather than have this artificial delay before you can do so. And also we changed the reload speed on that weapon that it takes like 11 instead of 13 seconds now for full reload. So in general, everything is just a bit smoother as you kind of load in the next rounds. So mostly on the handling side for the Mako. Then the next thing is the Berthier. And on the Berthier, we have reduced the cycle time from 2.1 seconds to 1.7. So also the weapon can fire just a little bit faster. Interesting piece is that the stats actually already had it at 1.7. It's just the actual balance was still the older, slower 2.1 seconds. So again, a minor increase, but just it feels a bit smoother and should help the Berthier to kind of stand out a little bit from some of its cousins like the Crack, etc. Then the next one is the Romero 77 Alamo specifically. And for this one, we went primarily after the reload to make that one faster. So the reloads went from 8.2 seconds to just 14 seconds. So it should be able to just like get more rounds in faster. That should help set itself a little bit more further apart from its other Romero cousins. And then lastly, we have the Haymaker. And on the Haymaker, we also reduced the reload time for full reload from 21.8 seconds to 18.2 seconds. So just a small speed up just to make sure you can get your rounds in just a little bit faster.
But we also made some changes to the flame rifle, which are a bit more significant. So
yeah, so in general, we are very happy with the flame rifle. I think you guys really appreciated the balance we struck with it in terms of its power level. So it doesn't become too powerful against PvP, but very meaningful also in the PvE side. So in general, though, what we felt is that you just can't do long enough bursts with it. So in general, the barrage duration was just a bit short. So we increased the oil capacity inside the weapon just a little bit so that you can just keep the fire button pressed just a little bit longer. I think it's going to be roughly about half a second that you can shoot longer. And we kind of offset this a little bit on the PvE side also with the reduced damage so that like you still melt through a meathead quite quickly, but it just takes a little bit more fuel to do so, a little bit more time. But since you have more fuel overall, it is pretty much still the same result. It just feels a bit nicer. We also made some fixes to the pumping animation, and what it means is that you can interrupt the reload by just pressing the fire button or the aim button, etc. However, that only worked if you started the reload with the R button. If you started the pumping with the X button, which is also possible, then it wouldn't allow you to interrupt. So that felt a bit awkward. We fixed that, so now it's the same regardless of which button you want to use in order to get into the pumping state.
awesome stuff, Dennis. And that is for the weapon balance side, but we also made a pass on the tarot card.
Yeah, so let's have a look at some of the cards we've changed. So the Sun, we changed the effect duration from 60 to 90 seconds. So you get a lot more time now, 50% boost on its effect duration. We felt that while it was very powerful and very good, it was also very situational. And the moment you put that in and then you still didn't directly charge in or do your thing because maybe your teammate got down right as you opened the door or some other thing happened, the effect was basically gone because you couldn't really use it in that time. So we hope that by just adding a little bit more time on top, like the 90 seconds instead of 60 seconds, it becomes a bit more reliable to use. On the Magician, now the place decoys, they also trigger the red clue effects, and you also have the red boss whispers for enemy teams being in proximity. So for those who like to meme around and be in the shadows, like you can use that kind of like really mess with people. So let's see and hear what you guys think about that one. The world card now grants you 1 clue reward per boss target discovered. What does it mean? I mean, the world kind of reveals all of the clues basically and tells you where is the boss. However, you didn't get anything from it. So if you're running Conduit, for example, you didn't really get any of the stamina benefits from this one. So now at least every time you have a boss target to reveal, at least you get 1 clue step of rewards attached to this one. So you can still make a decision like, do you just manually get the first one and then play the card and you have like 2 of those rewards, or like 2 times the stamina boost. But you just don't get the full amount, but at least 1 step more towards actually getting some reward out of it. So you might not be as angry anymore about your friends kicking in that card right before you wanted to get Conduit started. Then the next one is the tower card, and that just does a bit more increased damage against boss targets now, just becomes a bit more reliable, just like to quickly finish that boss, and especially the wild targets, you'll see that one having a strong effect because it instantly kills them now. So if you're really unhappy about having to fight some of the wild targets or an enemy rolls up, this one definitely gets the job done quickly, so good to have a tower around. So in general, we also have the tarot cards now found at specific points of interest. What I mentioned earlier is that our new Burned Convoy event location, we always have a Empress card and a Chariot card. And in a similar way, many of the other custom locations we have, like, you know, the Clockmaker with the Destiny Dial supply point, or the Postal supply point, each of those will have now specific cards that can spawn there. The fullest, again, you can get from the patch notes, but it also makes sense now to say, okay, oh, what did the scouting map reveal this time around? Oh, it's a Clockmaker wagon. I want to go there because it has the one card I really like. Like, so these type of tactics now become something that's more predictable for you guys. It's not just fully random.
And on the balancing side of things, we still have a bigger pass for monster balance.
Yes, so on the NPC AI side, we also did a pass there. So many monsters are now a bit weaker to poison damage, including the Immolator, which was still killable, but it took quite a lot of shots. So the only advantage you really had using poison ammo against the Immolator was that it wouldn't burst, but it still was kind of like consuming quite a lot of ammunition. So a bit of balancing there. It's not completely reversing what we changed like a couple years back, where the Immolators before that were almost instantly dying. So we still wanted to keep a bit of them there, but it should be overall a bit fairer, a bit easier to bring them down. However, the Immolator still remains immune to poison clouds if they run through those. Keep in mind though that if you want to kill an Immolator, you use a choke cloud. That's what the professionals know. In general, also burning AIs, like if you kill like a grunt with fire, like they actually now cause a bit of burning damage in the surroundings during the death animation. So you just want to be careful where you kill them, because maybe next to the barrel they blow up now. Not just only the ones carrying the torches, but now everything that burns can do a bit of damage. So just want to be careful around that a little bit more. It's not too severe, but it just feels a bit more better integrated into the sandbox. And also, we now have a change on the Immolators where they cause just some very minor 1 point of charcoaling damage with their regular attacks. So obviously, if they're burst and on fire, then they already do that anyways. But now, this is just the one little charcoaling, have a bit of sizzling as they hit you. Like, they still need quite a lot of hits before you even would start burning, but still, it's something to keep in mind out. And the way to get rid of that, obviously, is like if they're in a wet state, then they're soaked and they wouldn't be able to do this. We also added a lot of new ambient idle break animations to some of the monsters, so they feel a bit more alive. So things like monsters kind of like sniffing, digging a little bit, like gnawing at their arms and stuff like that. So there's a new rich set of like things that you'll see our monsters do as they're just idling around. So yeah, also something for you guys to explore a little bit more in detail what it all includes.
Awesome. I can't wait to see those animations as well. But we have some other bigger changes in the update as well, other than the balancing changes. So let's start off with some updates to our player profile customization, which we introduced in the last patch.
Yeah, so player profile updates includes like new weapons and ammo badges. So I think I have a list here as well, quickly that I want to talk to you about. So it's mostly about getting you, for example, all the different ammo types as their own little badge. So if you really want to focus on, I don't know, incendiary ammunition or high velocity or penny shot, or you can do that now. You can kind of put it on your badge, show the progress you've made with those. You also have some of the scarce weapons now in there. So like you get your wildland, your homestead, the flame rifle, the shredder, that you can also like show your mastery with. And on top of that, we also have some of the variants that we didn't cover before. I think notably like the bayonets, riposte, and claws, the maces and traumas, as well as the apertures and the precision versions. They are all their own little categories now. So if you really feel strong about any of those, you can now make them part of your player profile and show your progress on those. In general, it's a system that we're still growing, so bear with us as we still don't have all of the hunters with their respective avatars. I know that for some of you guys that can be very painful because obviously you want to show the hunter you really like, but rest assured we add more and more and more of those as we go. It's just a system that will grow over time and obviously then becomes maybe a bit more relevant once your favorite hunter is also in there.
And of course, we have been focusing on player onboarding in the recent patches as well. And we do have some changes in this one as well for new players.
Yeah, so if you're a new player starting Hunt for the first time and going through the tutorial, afterwards you are in the trainee mode. And this is like the specific phase where your Hunt does not yet die permanently, and everything is a bit more forgiving. And during that time, as you also fight against some of the hunter bots, for example, we make sure we introduce monsters now a bit more gradually. So you won't find like a concertina armored right in the first mission. It's just a bit of grunts, and then we step by step, as you go through more and more matches, we're going to introduce them like new enemies in there. What makes sense to not overwhelm new players and just give them a chance to take all the other stuff in, because they usually are still always like trying to figure out where am I, what's this map, where do I have to go, and if they're getting attacked by some monsters which might require some very special ways to kill them, it can be very frustrating. So just want to make sure this is an easier onboarding experience for everybody. And in addition to that, we also went to the hunter bots, which now, if you go to the next one, which now scale difficulty a little bit as well per level. So initially, like, they will be very forgiving, and then as you encounter them through like a couple matches during your onboarding phase, they become a bit more of a threat along the way. So again, easing the player into the PvP aspect as well, so that it doesn't become like from too easy to then fighting your first player hunters too hard, I think is very important.
Yeah, just to highlight it again, this is only available until rank 11 in the training mode where new players are. And let's talk about something that may be very helpful for new players, but it's also something the community has been asking for since we introduced the shooting range. So now we are having some very cool changes.
Yeah, this one is super exciting as well, that we now have basic hunter bots on the shooting range. So they're going to walk up and down and you can use them for target practice. So this is something that many of you guys have been asking for a long time, so be able to kind of train and practice leading targets, leading shots. So we use the hunter bots, but obviously they will not fight back. You can activate those at specific points in the shooting range and then start moving around, and they will display the damage numbers above, etc. They will not actually fall down and die, but you actually understand how much damage you did, and you can use that for continuous firing. But yeah, it's a very nice way of practicing at various distances against moving targets and just get a feel for that.
And we do have a video to showcase this as well in action, so let's look at the new shooting range changes.
As you can see here, there's like an interaction point now. There's multiple of those across the map, across the shooting range, and then once you activate that, you see these guys running, doing their thing, doing their target practice, and yeah, you can bring them down, learn from that, try things out, try different weapons, and get a feel for it. Like, even have them like the very distance. Like, this is one of the most important things to train. Like, people walking across water at slower speeds than normal. I usually miss those leading shots because I always lead too much. Yeah, you can really show off there as well. And of course, you can do this together with your friends in the shooting range. You can go there together from the same lobby and try things out there. So, like, this shows you like the different direction points. So some of them on the roof or in specific angles there. So. And you can obviously just like shut them off as well. So for example, if you just want to play and mess around with your friends a little bit to do some happy death matching, you can do that without them, of course.
And this is not the only feature which has been requested by the community a lot, and the next one is a big one. So let's talk about a brand new invite system that's coming in this update.
Yeah, so this is something that I'm so happy we finally have a chance to roll out. We're introducing now a new lobby code invite system. And this is a system that allows you to generate a code and then give that over to your friend so they can end up in the same lobby with you. Now, this only works on the PC realm. So if you're a Steam player, you can now have your Windows Windows Game Store players like form a party with you. And then it also works between the consoles, but there's no crossplay between PC and consoles. But what it prevents, or actually what it makes better now, not prevents, is that where before you had to be really, really lucky to match with your friends. For example, if you were on Xbox and they were on PlayStation, if you wanted to play together, you had to use the random matchmaking and be very, very lucky to kind of find each other. This has changed now. You can just pass on the code and you can play together. And this is like kind of making it so much nicer for you to kind of play with friends. And same on the PC side, where if you have PC Game Store players, they can just play with you if you're on Steam, and vice versa. So I think a huge quality of life improvement. Really, really happy that we had a chance to finally roll this out. And if you do these type of invites, they're also persistent. So like in a similar way as if you were to invite your friends normally, like you stay together after the round, so you don't have to paste these codes over and over and over again. And you can even send multiple of those invites via the code, and then it's a first come, first serve. So it might even be interesting maybe for some of the content creators out there, if you want to play with community, etc. You can do that now by just passing on the code and then just like see who joins first for some community day stuff. So I think it's a really, really cool potential behind that one. And obviously you can always reset the code, generate a new one, etc. and then have some control about this.
Yeah, since I already see some confusion in the chat, just to reinforce, the invites are currently between the PC Steam and PC Windows version, or Xbox and PlayStation. So
yeah, you cannot cross-play across these platforms. You stay either within consoles or within PC.
Yeah, and we do have a video to showcase how this actually works in action, so let's look at that too.
As you can see here, like now you open up the side menu and you can set your party to like, oh, look, trios. Open up the side menu and then you see all the control you have there about like generating these codes. They're also hidden by default. So like, again, for content creators, like you don't necessarily give away your codes all the time. Gives you a chance to kind of switch scenes, etc. Pass them on, and then like the other player can just use the same sidebar and enter their code. And then if they match, they go into exactly that game. So I think it gives you a lot of control to play with friends now, which we didn't have before. So I'm really, really happy that this is a right step in the right direction of just improving like social interactions.
Just to note about the icons as well, that players on console, when you invite, let's say you're playing on Xbox and you invite the PlayStation player, you won't be seeing a PlayStation logo, but like a more generic icon.
It's like a monitor icon. I think it's the same already on live right now. So I think most console players are probably aware, just like to call it out. Like that doesn't mean you're playing with a PC player, it just means you're playing with the other console.
Yeah, really excited for this. I saw chat was like, wow, no way, yo. So
it's a big one for me as well. I'm super, super happy we finally had a chance to put this out. I've been working on this for quite some time now, and yeah, like give us your feedback on this one. I want to see what you think, and yeah, maybe like reach out to those friends on other platforms and maybe invite them for some games.
Yeah, finally you can actually play together and not just with random matchmaking on consoles. But on the UI side, we also have some other cool improvements made. So let's take a look at those.
Yeah, its first thing is the equipment skin pagination. So like it's a quality of life improvement that many of you have been longing for quite some time. So we're super happy about bringing that now into the new UI as well. And I think it's better to show than to tell. So let's just have a look what it actually means. There we go.
Almost.
All right. So as you can see now, you have like the chance to just like in your inventory as you browse through your weapons to equip your hunters, just like select the skins you want, like what cosmetic skins I have. You see the number, how many there are, and you can quickly cycle through them. So just bringing back that quality of life approach, which many of you guys really, really missed from before. So super happy about getting that back in, and should make it a lot easier. Just like find the right skins for the hunters and equip your hunters properly.
Really cool. But we also did another bigger change, which is the redesign of the hunter screen.
Yeah, so like the hunter screen has been redesigned. If you remember in the past, we had like both a roster screen where you could select the different hunters, then we had like another hunter screen, which was about the details of the selected hunter. And now we have like a hunter screen that has a cleaner layout. The grid is better aligned on the left side. It's easier navigation. You also have the empty slots are now clearly visible as empty slots. So just in the visual update, just like clears up the whole thing, makes it much easier to use. It removes the need to rely on the slot counter to understand what's going on there. And in general, you can also do the recruitment directly from that one screen. So again, this is like one image here just to show you before you dive closer. So you see all your hunters on the left side, your active roster. On the right side, you have the paper doll, like all the inventory pieces around it, and their weapons, equipments, the traits. And you can do all the modifications right from there, and just makes the whole thing a lot easier to use and access, and get like the next hunter stood up right after the mission. You lost the last one.
Again, really happy to see chat being very happy about this. So awesome.
We like making like making the chat happy.
Very much so. Very much so. And they will be very happy when we talk about the new monster coming up in a bit. But before that, let's talk about some of the bug fixes.
Some of the highlights we have in there as well. So just some of the general bug fixes. Like one of the focus points for us was with this update to kind of bring down the crashes a lot. And with that, we also focus a lot on the PlayStation crash rates, which was just a bit higher than on the other platforms. So like that's one of the things we really had like some really good traction on. We also fixed several locations across the maps where people could get stuck permanently, which is always super frustrating, obviously, as you will lose your hunter then. We also fixed an issue where the tower cards did not work against the Ballweaver X, like sometimes you used the card, but X were still everywhere, so like this type of stuff. And then we also fixed an issue where the game mode reverted to Bounty Hunt. So this is for those of you who really like playing Bounty Clash or Soul Survivor, just coming out of a successful round or not so successful round, you always had to kind of reset back to the right state. So this saves it now correctly, and it stays within the game mode.
Let's also highlight some gameplay related bug fixes too.
Yeah, like some more fixes more on the gameplay side. We fixed an issue where the poison clouds could still kind of kill you on a revive even if you had an antidote shot. So this was like a problem we've been dragging around for quite some time now. Super frustrating because you should be safe and just be able to stand up, but because you got the damage first before it checked whether you should even get the damage, like it resulted in these frustrating moments. So very happy to kind of have that one out of the basically out of the way and finally fixed. We also fixed an issue where the water devils could spawn in Roger's area, which was obviously super frustrating because we have to be in the water in order to draw Roger out. And if the devils are there at the same time, it's just very frustrating. Usually just give up. So that's fixed. We also had a look at the assassin that could get stuck and kind of bug out in a corner while in swarm mode. So overall, it should be a bit more responsive, and you see like the bosses fail a little bit less. And then lastly, we also ensure that the traps are now are no longer counting towards the furthest kill distance stat on your player profile cards. So all of you who gamed this successfully over the last months, kudos to you, but that time is over now. And of course, there's going to be many more bug fixes in the patch notes for you guys to look at.
And now that we put out a lot of fires, let's talk about something that's...
Yeah, we also started a couple new fires, so here we go. Let's talk about the Fire Breather, a new monster. So the Fire Breather is, he's found kind of like around the grunts. It's not really a grunt, it's not really an emulator, somewhere in between that. So let's talk a little bit more about what that means. So in general, like it's a ranged enemy, like he spews fire from a distance, he has this long range fire breathe attack. Obviously there's some anticipation before he does, so he's gonna stand still, etc. But like you don't want to be in the way when that happens. Also, like he is kind of vulnerable in a similar way as the emulator is. So you want to be careful with like slashing and piercing and any sorts of like stabbing around this guy, because if you do so, then he will erupt some flames. He's not going to blow up exactly like the emulator does. It's not going to be as severe, but still, you don't want that to happen ideally. So you want to be extra careful around him when you dispatch him, because he might also just like give you that last fiery breath as you kill him, depending if you hit him, for example, in the upper torso or in the head.
So why don't we take a look at it in the game, how it actually looks?
Yeah, it's really cool. So like as you can see already, like he's very more of a humanoid person. It's not completely just embers and brimstone. Yeah, the distance you want to be extra careful. That flamethrower is just brutal that he's spewing out those flames. He's going to be affected by the water bottle in a similar way. That can kind of dies from it. However, in the wet state, so when you, for example, choke him or he's wet, like he would just temporarily only be able to not use his ranged attack. So you want to make sure you kind of use that against him. So you see like throwing the choke bomb there. He kind of goes off and out for a short moment, but the moment he's out, he actually starts again. So you want to really carefully use those moments. It takes a bit longer for him to regain that ability, the range attack, if you use the wet state. Now, in general, as you can see here, depending on where you stab and attack him, like he kind of like has this final breath burst to the top. Not only does it obviously reveal your position quite a bit because it's very visible, but also like there's fire around it, etc. So you just want to ideally back away after you stab him. You can always save like the bars if you're careful, even a 25er. Just be careful around this guy. Maybe just prefer to take him out with a ranged attack or with a blunt attack.
I still cannot wait to see the clips of players facing it for the first time, because it's always fun when we have a new monster out there.
He's cool, he's brutal, but like what I really appreciate him the most is like that he can kind of hide amongst the grunts a little bit, and that makes him very sinister because you don't necessarily expect him there, and all of a sudden he turns around and goes like, oh there, and move away now. So really interesting how he breaks up some of the patterns and behaviors.
Now that we talked about the new monster as well, which I know a lot of people have been waiting for, we do have some other updates for the community, starting with the Fair Play Task Force. A little update on that.
Yeah, so in general, our Fair Play Task Force, this is basically where we talk about like cheating bans, just making sure that you guys have a fair and good experience playing the game. So over the last 10 months, we had 10,569, if I can read this correctly on the prompter, permanent bans issued for cheating. We also had 358 additional bans for in-game violations, such as harassment, bug abuse, and teaming. These in-game reports, especially, they're super important and key for us because they're an investigation tool we can use to kind of like add context. So it's super important that you guys give us detailed reports to help us out with and fill in as much detail as you can with these reports. We look at them. They are very, very important for us, especially when we do like manual looking at certain reports. So please continue doing so. Like it really helps us to act fast and keep the game fair for everyone.
Yeah, and we will have a blog coming up in the coming weeks about this topic, so you can see it in a bit more detail. But the Fair Play Task Force is working hard, and of course cheating is a very important issue for us, so we are happy to share some data with you this time.
Expect more transparency moving forward.
Definitely. And one very fun thing happening with the 2.7 is the partner preview event.
Oh yeah. So we will have like a partner preview on 2 days, actually, on March 13th as well as March 14th. So there's like Friday and Saturday coming up now, respectively at 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central European time. And what it means is that like hunt partners and content creators, they can stream update 2.7 for the first time live, kind of preview this, and kind of see what's actually in there and talk about it, see what's good, what's bad, what I like, what I prefer, and just have the conversations going. So yeah, go and watch your favorite content creators, experience the update before release, and tune in on Twitch and follow our socials for the actual announcements there.
Yeah, and of course you can check out our website at showdown.com/partners, so you can see our partners. And with that, we came to the end of the update discussion and the event as well.
Yeah.
So let's dive into a Q&A segment. So chat, please ask your questions. And yeah, I will also open chat here on my side and see what we can answer. So please give us just 1 second.
Okay. Quite a lot of questions coming in. That's good.
Yeah, chat is very active, so that's always great. Oh, okay.
You start?
Oh yeah, I'm opening it up.
I can reiterate maybe just the dates again because like so. We did have a mistake on the stream assets where it says like it would end at May 13th, but actually Devil's Trail is running from March 18th, so that's next week, Thursday I think, towards June 10th, not May 13th, but we run until June 10th.
Yeah, I see questions about that is Inferno coming back, and we actually talked about it if you paid a bit of attention. So Inferno is returning in April 15th to be exact. So keep an eye on that. We will of course have more information around what is happening there, but Inferno will indeed return.
And of course the 18th is not a Thursday, but it's the Wednesday next week.
Yeah. Exactly a week from today, right?
Yeah, the 18th is next week, Wednesday. Yes, a week from now. Soon.
Again, I see a question that asked about the 15-player lobbies and what was the decision there.
So we do have a very detailed blog post. So I prefer to just check out the blog post. Maybe we can post a link again in the chat in the meantime. We have all information there. Overall, it was a mixed response. However, a clear preference for how we improved and changed the trio games. Not so much though for the duo games, and there were a couple of pain points around it. So yeah, if you're interested in the details, please check out the blog post. Lots of data and points and reasoning in there. So I think it's really, really cool and definitely a good way for us to kind of explain the reasoning behind these things and have a very open conversation with you guys. Because it does not only matter that you give us the feedback, but we also want to share what in general the community is thinking by giving the results back to you.
Yeah, of course, questions about cheaters. We try to cover this in the Fair Play Task Force update again. This is very important to us, and we will have a blog with a bit more details.
It's an ever-evolving fight, right?
Yeah, of course.
Shield versus sword. Constantly monitoring that. We're constantly working on this. We're working with our partners as well. But yeah, expect more information from the Fair Play Task Force about this soon.
So then I'm seeing a lot of questions related to MMR. So are there any plans for improvements on this?
So, I mean, it's super important for us to say is we see the concerns. We see what people are complaining about. We're looking actively into solutions for that stuff. We have some stuff in the works, but we can't talk about yet exactly what that means and when we can roll this out. But it's a very, very important topic, and we understand the pain points it creates for some of you.
And of course, one big topic here is asking about the ping and ping limits. So Dennis, could you touch on that for a second, just because a lot of people...
Again, also we're seeing the comments. It's a very important discussion also internally for us. We were hoping with our initiative that we had a year ago, about more than a year ago now, about the high ping situation, that we could get some easy wins there. Unfortunately, the situation turned out to be much, much more complicated, especially considering things like local VPN, etc. So we're still working on a solution. We also don't want to create any accidental issues where maybe people playing from Australia out of a sudden can't play with their friends on the West Coast anymore, or issues with South Africa players where they could play. So it's a very complicated topic. We can't give you the answers here right now, but rest assured, this is super important for us, and we're continuing on this topic at all. Internally, it's a very, very big conversation point.
And of course, as always, the people asking about a new boss or new monsters. Well, in this update, we do have a new monster coming out. We just talked about the Fire Breather, and of course, new bosses and new battle targets. So always an interesting topic for us, but we cannot just share anything right now about that.
I'm still curious to see what you think about the Fire Breather.
Yep. Oh, again, a lot of people asking, where is the invite? What about console invites? We actually covered this, and it was a big point, so you probably missed it. But Dennis, could you just recap what that is?
So with this update, we're introducing lobby code invites. It's a new way for you to play with friends. And what you can do is, if you're on Steam or if you're in the Windows Game Store, you can now play with other PC players on a different platform by using the invite code system. In the same way, if you're on PlayStation and you have, for example, friends on Xbox, you can now also invite them into the same matches and vice versa. So within the console realm and also within the PC realm, but not across, you'll be able to now give invites out. So if you have friends on other platforms that you would really like to play with, and so far the only chance you had was using the random matchmaking in the hope to ending up in the same lobby, you can now use that system to really get reliable into matches together. And I think it's a good opportunity for you guys to just reach out to your friends, play with them.
Yeah, actually, a follow-up question to that that I just saw is asking about randoms. What happens when you have let's say a random third in your party, or just making a group with randoms? Do the lobbies still persist, or how does that work?
So at the moment, what we mentioned earlier is that if you use the lobby code invite system, the lobbies will persist. So you don't have to retype the code over and over again after every match. What it doesn't change is if you play with randoms, etc., because you don't know what these randoms want to do maybe next. So that's at the moment we haven't resolved that particular point. We've been focused on the lobby code invites and ensure that this is the smooth and less intrusive way of reaching out to friends, setting out these codes, etc. Again, what I want to emphasize as well is it's a great way for content creators also to have more engagement with their community by just passing the respective code along, and it's a first come first serve basis who actually ends up in your game. So could be very interesting maybe for some of you to play around with. It's definitely a new tool at your disposal.
So some questions about previous battle passes returning.
Yeah, you want to answer that one?
Sure. So yeah, we had like some great feedback with the Legends Return that we ran during the last event, and we will always try to find ways to return.
Can I return and bring them back? Yeah.
My favorite items, but this is something we are like working on, and we'll share more information. Sure, soon how we exactly do it. So just please stay tuned on that.
Yeah.
Dennis, this one is definitely for you, and I know we cannot really say it, but like, can we expect any new weapons or variants in the future?
I mean, we are a shooter, so I very much hope so. Nothing we can talk about right now, but I'm pretty sure we have more arsenal options available in the future.
Also, like, just general question about the new structure and how events work. So do we have back-to-back events now? And maybe you could also like just talk about the beats feed.
That's a very good point. So in general, like what we've been starting to do since the second last event is trying to get more into like a continuation where we actually have like them back-to-back. However, the focus has also shifted a little bit within the events where we in past days we very often had everything go from the beginning, right? You had a massive update and then that had to be the thing you want to play for the next 2 or 3 months. We now focus a lot more about like making sure there's also additional cool things coming along the way. So we're going to move more towards this monthly update cadence as well, where just like new things happen. Like an example of that one has been the Ballweaver compounds and the Flame Rifle in January as a mid-event update beat for the Murder Circus on Core. And you guys really appreciate that one we saw. So it's something we want to do more of, give you guys like some new things, maybe some pieces return, some new mechanics come in, just new ways for you to get excited about and have a chance to kind of try out.
Actually, that you mentioned Flame Rifle, I just saw a question asking about the scarce weapons like the Shredder and Flame Rifle. Like, are they in the game now, or do they return? Or
yes.
How does it work?
So scarce weapons as well as like specific traits, etc. That stuff can always appear. It will depend a little bit on maybe an active event. If you say like, hey, there's a higher chance or no chance at all to find specific things. But in general, if you have found them before and you still have a hunter with them, or you have them in your arsenal, they don't go away. So if you have, for example, like still a hunter lying around, like from the Murder Circus and Core, which has like the Blade Mancer trait on them, that stays. You can just continue using it. You just might not know when you get the next time a chance to actually get one. In a similar way, the scarce weapons, like they were very prominent in previous events, maybe they become a bit more rarer now to find. Like, so again, we play around with the sources and how quickly and how often, how frequently and how reliably most often you can get some of those pieces, but none of that stuff goes away. Everything stays in the game now. So if you have shredders lying around in your arsenal, well, go use them. You might also find some of them in the future by just killing people that had them because they brought in theirs and now they're yours. So it's a cool new way for you to experience some of that more limited content pieces as well, and it kind of adds kind of a bit of value and also a bit of like pressure maybe to not die this round because you don't want to lose that.
I see a lot of questions since we talked about the cross-platform invites, about cross progression, and we currently do not have plans for
at the moment. We don't have anything on that front. What's important is that the lobby code invites, they are respectively amongst the consoles or amongst the PC platforms, but not across. So if you give like a friend on PlayStation, if you're on Xbox, that invite codes, they can now join your lobby. But that doesn't work, for example, if you're on console with a Steam account.
There's a question about the Chariot trait. Will it still lock and unlock extracts?
Yes. So in general, what it does is it will give you not only the revealing information, like what we do in this event, like where we can show you where the exits are, in addition to like obviously like all the other ways of finding and revealing them by banishing the boss or by using the scouting map. But they also still do the flipping mechanic where they kind of reverse. It's important pieces like that. If you use the chariot, you know what has changed and you know what the locations are to go out for. You might not know, however, maybe what you changed it from if you haven't revealed them before.
A question about the burnt supplies. Do the traits at those POIs also disappear after first use, like we introduced?
So in general, that depends on the type of trade. So sealed trades, like trades you have to spend pledge marks on, they usually stay. Like they don't go away. The regular trades, the ones that you might find randomly in the world, or the ones dropped by the wild targets or some of the bigger monsters, those are the ones that will fade out. So If you have a seal trait like all ears at the tower, for example, everybody can always pick that one up. It never fades away because there's a cost to it. Like it's kind of like sealed and grounded in reality, maybe differently. Could be an explanation, so they will not go away. The regular traits, they're the ones that after the first time you interact with them, they start fading out. So over the next 90 seconds, you better coordinate with your teammates that everybody has a chance to get them if they're important to you. Otherwise, they will fade away, which means, however, that if you go and hunt a meathead, if you go hunt a brute, if you go hunt Roger or the Hellborn, the reward is yours primarily. And someone coming there like 10, 15 minutes later, they will not find the trait if you have used it. Of course, if it wasn't interesting to you, none of you have interacted with it, it might still be there.
And with that, I think we answered most of the questions. Do you see any more you would like to perhaps reply to? Especially in the very end there, or only the last ones?
I think
Maybe
we covered
covered
all the big ones that I saw.
I think so too.
Yeah, I think we're through.
Oh, I see a question that I can
one?
actually answer about the Twitch drops. So this time around, we don't have Twitch drops for 2.7, but of course, during the year, this is something that will still be happening. But just please keep an eye on it and follow us on socials for more information about that. Last year, we also had some really cool campaigns. So of course, this is something we want to continue. So with that, let's plug all the cool channels we have. So of course you can follow us on Facebook at Hunt Showdown, on Instagram at Hunt the Game, on TikTok Hunt Showdown Official, on YouTube just Hunt Showdown. You can also follow the Crytek pages. We are on X, even in like local channels if you want to find us. And thank you for joining us for this stream. I hope we managed to answer most of your questions as well. As always, please keep the questions coming that we may have not been able to answer now, and we will try to get back to you as much as possible. Dennis, what a pleasure.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I mean, I'm super excited about like what we were able to show you guys today. So yeah, the next thing for you obviously is like tune in for the partner previews on Friday and Saturday, and you might get some first glimpse of all of that in motion, and with like comments and obviously feedback from your favorite content creators. So go for it.
The event is coming next Wednesday. Just to reinforce that, please read the patch notes where all the cool details and all cool stuff we've talked about it, but there's more, like way more bug fixes, way more smaller tweaks that you may want to learn about before the event. And I think with that, we are done for today. So
yes,
thank you so much for joining us. It was a lot of fun, and see you next time around.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.